Hi, this is Kobe Carp from Miami, Florida, sending you a little love from the Sunshine State. And you are listening to U.S. Modernist Radio.
Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Oh, I don't care what Mama don't allow, gonna draw mine modern anyhow. Mama don't allow no architecture around here.
Welcome to U.S. Modernist Radio, where we talk and laugh with people who enjoy, own, create, dream about, preserve, love, and hate modernist architecture, the most exciting and controversial buildings in the world. With everyone changing over from DVDs and cable channels to streaming services, the world seems to get a lot closer, and it's almost as if we can get our entertainment from anywhere. George, for instance, has been deep into the Australian criminal justice series Janet King, starring Marta Dusseldorp, as a prosecutor who has a freshly prepared espresso every morning from a coffee cart right outside her building, just like me. Spoiler alert, Marta, that barista cannot be trusted. We dare not say more. Most Americans have never been to Australia, although a surprising number of Australians have been to the U.S. In fact, Australians are some of the most well-traveled people in the world. We love talking to the Australian delegation in Palm Springs with all their epaulets and their jewelry, and we've had many Australian guests on the show, such as Chef Ben Shewry, comedian Tim Ross, and the one and only martini whisperer Philip Jones, also Penelope and Polly Seidler, plus preservationist Annalisa Capurro, Rachel Jackson, Annie Price, and Jamie Patterson. From Robin Boyd to Harry Seidler to Glenn Murcutt, there's a lot to love in Australian architecture, and today we get to add more Australians to our list of people that we know personally from halfway around the world. Dustin Clare and Camille Keenan are the producers behind a new streaming service and within it a new streaming series on Australian design. And although he's still patiently waiting for Marta Dusseldorp to invite him over for a flat white one sugar, here's your host, George Smart.
Hi, folks. Hi, Marta. Next Tuesday is open, let's say around 9 a.m. your time, via Zoom. Marta is the granddaughter of Dick Dusseldorp, who collaborated with the famous modernist Harry Seidler on the still contentious Blues Point Tower in Sydney. And she narrated the Harry Seidler documentary produced by past podcast guest Daryl DeLaura. But I digress. Australian TV is just waiting to be discovered by more American audiences. Another show, which claims to be a political drama, is really a huge commercial for the amazing architecture and city planning in Australia's capital, Canberra. Secret City stars Anna Torv, famous here for Fringe and Mindhunter, who gets upstaged by the modernist Parliament building designed by the New York firm Mitchell Gurjola. That's coming up on a show about Canberra we'll be doing later this fall. Support for U.S. Modernist Radio comes from modernist realtor Angela Roll and Nichiha.com/US Modernist.
Beauty, love, durability. Designed to last for years to come, bringing you peace and tranquility. You feel relaxed, knowing your house can easily achieve any exterior look and any color. Wood, concrete. Your house loves feeling this good, and you love feeling this good. Nichiha, 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 Nichiha. Say it with me. Nichiha. Advanced engineering. Nichiha. Nichiha. Durability. Textures. Finishes. And colors. Visit Nichiha.com/US Modernist. Nichiha. 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 That's N. C H I H. Wait for it. A look you'll love. Nichiha.
Dustin Clare and Camille Keenan are well-known Australian actors whose new architecture series, Inspired Architecture, premiered recently on their new streaming service, shelter.stream. Although sometimes people mistake him for Colin Farrell, which is not a bad gig, Dustin wanted to be a fish farmer had he not gone into acting. In addition to many other roles, he's known for starring as Gannicus in the Starz series Spartacus, Gods of the Arena, the sequel Spartacus, Vengeance, and the latest sequel, set 20 years later, Spartacus, Get Those Damn Kids Off My Chariot. Showing excellent judgment, he married the award-winning Camille Keenan in 2009, and in 2012, they wrote and produced and starred in the film Sunday, which premiered in 2014 and went on to acclaim in film festivals around the world. Welcome, Camille. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you.
G'day.
Where are you guys?
We are on the most easterly point of Australia. We're just in the northern rivers of New South Wales, just near Byron Bay, which everyone seems to know fairly well in terms of geographically pointing people to where we might be in the world.
It's pretty much the Gold Coast.
It's nothing like the Gold Coast.
Gold Coast adjacent, could we say?
No, nothing like the Gold Coast.
It's quite different, but we are an hour south of the Gold Coast.
Okay.
Different vibe.
There's a border between us, I'd just like to highlight.
Dustin, before we get started, tell us about the phenomenon that was the TV show McCloud's Daughters. You played the swarthy, handsome, tough but tender, man with a past ranch hand Riley Ward. That series is not very well known in the U.S., but it was just huge in Australia.
Yep. It's basically, it's just real life. You've just summed me up. Just in my real life persona. So thanks, George.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, look, it was a big series outside Europe. It was quite big in, Germany had a massive following. Interestingly, it still plays, and it's gone on to streaming services and things like that now. So it's found a new audience. I guess that's the great thing with the streaming services is what's old can become new again if people find it. It was people were really engaged with it because it was about the Australian outback. There was a real romanticism about the piece. There was lots of horses and farmers and cowboy-esque kind of horse chases, and it was good fun. I learned a lot. It was sort of my first regular gig out of drama school, that show.
So 224 episodes according to IMDb, and anybody in the States can watch it on Amazon Prime. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't do 224, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
He actually doesn't like to talk about it, George. He won't let me watch it. I don't know why.
Perhaps it was all the sweating. It seemed like they sweated a lot on that series. I watched a couple of them. They're always hot and sweaty.
And men hate to have their wives see them sweat.
Sure.
You know what it is? It's glycerin and water in a bottle, and they spray it on you right before they call action.
I wondered.
Camille, I understand there was an extended time where you had to put up with a rather unattractive mullet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of blocked that out, but you're right. That did happen.
How did that come about?
Our son had one as well. We got it mirrored. We were in... we kind of fitted in, though, didn't we? We're in
Hungary,
yeah,
so there was a lot of mullets kicking around, and we just thought, when you're in Rome, why not?
Yeah, so we just fitted right in with the Hungarians, my son and I, just full dirty mullet up. I've actually got it's the photo on my driver's license because at the time we were in a hiatus and I had to get my driver's license renewed for another 10 years. And so that's the photo on my driver's license.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, you're stuck with it.
So when the police pull me over, which is not a regular occurrence,
Wow.
They often have a double take.
And how long have you been mullet-free, Dustin?
It must be about 5 years, I think. And he was talking about going back to the mullet the other day, and I said, it has been done. You probably don't need to go back.
And you'll always have the driver's license.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's just
True.
It's just so rude and offensive, like people get really offended by it. Kind of funny.
So all this great acting, and both of you have a long list of credits, but we're interested in finding out, how did you start getting interested in architecture?
Well, I think it's that thing of you go through the process in your life of, starting a family and, creating a home. And obviously out of that comes an interest of how do we make it look aesthetically pleasing. How do we turn this old Rambler that we've picked up into something that we want to live in, really?
Yeah, because our house was sort of like a haunted house when we first walked in here, just immediately wanting to walk back out the door. And the wallpaper was peeling. It had been built in 1972, I think, and it had never been touched since then. And to make things even creepier, the real estate agent was like, there was, I think this is where the owner, Dustin's telling me not to say this, but this is what happened. We walked into the house and the real estate agent said, I think this is where the previous owner died. And I was like, that's not a selling point for me. I just kind of want to leave. So we didn't have the best start with the house, but the process of transforming it from that first perception to it now being our family home where we've got 3 kids and we love it, it's just been so rewarding, and it's quite an addictive process, I think.
Nobody else has died since you bought the house, in the house?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
But there's always time.
There's always time.
I mean, I think architecture is something that affects us all. We all, need a shelter to live underneath. And then, once we have that shelter, or it's about creating the shelter that we want to live underneath, what do you want it to look like? I mean, if you're building it from scratch and you're engaging an architect, what's the practical needs of your shelter? Aesthetically, what do you want it to look like? What are the materials that you want to build with? I mean, they're all questions that affect us all at some point in our lives when we need that shelter to live underneath.
Well, a lot of people buy houses and fix them up, but you've pushed this a few notches further by starting a streaming service and a series. Not many people do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Camille and I just realised that there was a real lack of cohesion in this area. There wasn't a place you could go to really and find great content that wasn't sort of reality TV style. There was no feature films, were disparate. Great short form content was just everywhere. And then TV series that, had real substance to them were, again, everywhere. So it was about curating that and bringing them all to one place for people to find who loved it also, who loved this subject around architecture and the home, interior design, building. And we've got a real focus on sustainability as well, in terms of the future of building and architecture. So it was really about solving a problem for people, bringing great content in this genre all in one place. And part of that was creating our own series, which is Inspired Architecture, which has got a fantastic response, just with Jim Lounsbury, who we've worked with, Camille and I over the years, a good friend of ours and a really talented award-winning director. And we worked with him on the series, and we're just seeing all these wonderful Australian structures, really iconic Australian, unique, inspiring structures like permanent camping, which looks like Ned Kelly's helmet, really. That was built in Mudgee for a sleep out on sheet mustering days. Rob Brown from Casey Brown Architects designed something that was incredible, inspiring. There's no nails or screws or bolts. I mean, it's old school timber joinery that holds that thing together. And it's really impressive. It's like the old Japanese style joinery where you're looking at wedges.
Dovetails.
Yeah, mathematics comes into it, physics. And it's really inspiring, like made from old timber that was actually around in this area here, an old wharf that was deconstructed and then repurposed. And the master builders made into an incredible structure called Permanent Camping now. And we're just actually filming Permanent Camping 2, which is 10 years later, all Rob's kind of learnings from that as a standalone film at the moment where we're covering that. So that'll be another one that we're covering. But we're working with all these wonderful Australian architects in the series, their inspiration and their styles. And, we're getting a great response. It's fantastic.
So, Dustin, did the streaming service come first or the series?
Yeah, the streaming service idea came first.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is that you want to be creating your own exclusive content, exclusive to your platform. It's that thing where you get to, I guess, set the rules of the content, and you're not sort of being dictated the rules all the time. It's like if something works at 15 minutes or 25 minutes, it doesn't slot into a traditional half hour of TV or 1 hour of TV, but it works perfectly for what it is. It's the perfect length for the story that we're telling. And we can tell stories at any length, and we have the control over that. And those type of stories that we really want to tell, they're thoughtful. They don't give you 5 seconds at the end to look through the house. It's like the story, the narrative of the building is what we're interested in, and the people who created it. Did it live up to your expectations? What are the failings? What are the learnings? All that kind of thing.
And we often read a lot of architecture magazines, like Green Magazine, Dwell and Sanctuary, and we would want to know more. The articles are great and the pictures are great, but sometimes you want to see what's around the corner, or you don't quite get how the house fits into the environment. You want to see the bigger picture. So we thought Jim would be great at going to these places and telling a story.
In all 6 of these episodes, were they original houses built from the ground up, or were they renovations or modifications?
They're all original houses built from the ground up. So we really go through the process of the design process with what was the design process with the client, with the architect. How did that evolve once you got to see the site or choose the site? And what was the design process? We're really looking at the approach of the architect and the client, how they work together, and what were the ideas, and then what was building in the end, and how has it changed, and how have you changed with it? I think that's the thing with buildings is, like our house here, it's always, I love getting on the tools and doing some carpentry, and I love evolving our house because your family grows and changes, and the practical needs of your house are always changing at that stage in your life. We're always like extending something or demoing something and redoing something. So it's just the practicalities of, and the beauty in that practicality, and usability of a space. You've always got to think about the end user, and so often in life and design, is frustrating because it's not thinking about the end user. And I get frustrated when the end user is not considered in the process, because they're the people who are going to be using it forever, or, for a period of time that's critical to their use of the object or the space.
I don't know how it is in Australia, but here we have a lot of really bad architecture going up. I mean, horrible looking buildings in some of our towns, kind of gray, blah, 5 stories high, with little false terraces that come out 18 inches and don't go anywhere. Do you have that kind of phenomenon there along the Australian coast?
I guess, because we're in a more regional area, we've got more space. We definitely have that urban sprawl. There's a lot to be said for the developers in terms of, you're looking at what's the lowest cost we can get out in terms of building a house with the bare minimum of features that someone might be looking for, and how cheaply can we do that. So it's that, it's that old thing. It's just sort of, off the plan, there's 5 choices where you go. And then that process of engaging an architect, is really kind of missed out. That's left up to the developer. And so we're lucky to live in an area that has a lot of great architecture, a lot of really interesting, engaging buildings. And in terms of aesthetics, that's exciting to look at, obviously, and it adds to the sense of beauty, I guess, of the community. I think where we fall down is really the commercial architecture, the commercial spaces. They're traditionally just blocks and boxes, and they haven't really sort of thought much further than the usability of it in terms of, has it got a door? Can you turn on a light? And can you pay us this much a week? You got to think about the aesthetics and, how the aesthetics can make a citizen or a community member react. People react to great, beautiful buildings or even controversial buildings, but at least then there's a reaction, you know what I mean, which provokes a conversation.
The two of you have been in a lot of films and TV. Can either of you recall a production set that really struck you as being wonderful?
I always talk to Dust about King Kong and how they recreated 1930s New York in Lower Hutt, Wellington. It was really quite amazing. I was just an extra on it for a few months, but it was just such an amazing experience at that time of my life, just to be able to walk through a set like that where the detail was just phenomenal. I mean, you would open a shop front that no character's ever going to go in, but the whole store is, it's like make-believe.
Wow.
For adults. It was incredible.
Do you think that amount of detail helps you as an actor?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You just can get lost in the story. And when you're all in costume and everyone else around you is in costume, it's just is fully believable that you're somewhere else entirely.
When you do those big productions, like I remember with Spartacus or, say, Pacific Rim Uprising, where they have those budgets to be able to put real money into sets. And it's incredible, you create whole Roman villages or towns or a complete futuristic town set. It's incredible detailed work in terms of the carpentry and the design that goes into building a set. Very talented people who are really good at what they do. And the attention to detail and the layers and the texture of the sets, you see them come through on the films or the television productions.
It's magical. It's just like when kids dress up and play make-believe. It's just recreating that for adults.
On a much bigger budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
No cardboard boxes.
Camille and Dustin, what does it take to start a streaming service? Do you have to fundraise or go get investors or get a studio behind you? How does it work?
Yeah, look, I've got a production and distribution company that I've been working on for many years. And so I have those relationships with distributors to be able to reach out and talk to them about content and licensing content. And that's a big part of it, getting access to the content, which is all over the world. I mean, we've got feature films on architecture from South America, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada, UK, Europe. So you've got to deal with producers or sales agents, distributors from all those different territories. You've also got to have a company that can deliver the software in terms of the apps, the web platform that's able to build on other apps that are relevant to different territories. So, yeah, there's lots of parts to it. Absolutely. It's a big beast. I mean, it's not something you do in a couple of weeks. It's something you do over the course of, most of the year kind of thing. And we found our sort of software partner out in New Zealand here after a big extensive search sort of globally. Then I was able to sort of open up those relationships with distributors that I may have worked with or new distributors and then filmmakers. And once you launch, then you've got filmmakers or distributors coming to you wanting to talk about their content. So you're constantly being exposed to new content. And then it's about curating it. You need a really high bar, a bar for premium content that has really great production values that is crossing all the genres that you want to tick off, like architecture, design, lifestyle TV pieces, sustainability. These are all different genres that we're looking at with Shelter and curating for.
And it's called shelter.stream?
Yeah, so you go to shelter.stream.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can sign up, start a 14-day free trial, and then...
That's the web address?
Yeah, it's a domain, Tom. They have new domains now.
I've just never heard of a domain with 6 letters in it. Or 7.
Yeah, you could get US Modernist now if you want, I'm sure.
Wow. I'll have to look into that.
And then you download the apps, so the Apple iOS app or the Android app, and you can watch through your apps.
Oh, well, that answers that question. Then I was going to ask you, how do you get to it? But
so you watch
answered
online on the web or through your smartphone device, Android or Apple.
Well, I mean, curating movies and working on your house and making documentaries. And you guys have a kid, don't you? A child?
Got 3.
Three of them.
You don't have much spare time, do you?
No.
Okay.
It sort of feels like every single hour of the day is accounted for at the moment. But, this is what we love to do. So we feel really lucky at the same time.
We'll be back with more of Dustin and Camille after this word from the adventures of Angela Roll.
In her continuing fantasy life, modernist realtor Angela Roll was hired to work for Britain's MI6 not as a spy, but to build a secret tunnel so the Prime Minister and Hugh Grant could enter and exit the building without anyone knowing. In appreciation, she was invited to 4 royal weddings and a funeral, but after accidentally spilling a bottle of Chateau Margaux 1787 on someone's mother, who happened to be wearing a crown, she was burn notice to Prague in the Czech Republic. Angela was broke with only a 9mm Ruger, a circular saw, and a red ball gown. She studied architecture by day and built portable dance floors by night. It was on one of her dance floors at the Finnish embassy that she waltzed into the arms of international man of mystery Eric of Helsinki, whom she later married. Returning home from their honeymoon aboard the Queen Mary II, she narrowly got her circular saw past customs in New York via her cloak of invisibility, because all heroines have one, to become a formidable real estate agent with architecture training, deftly dealing with unreasonable sellers, unrealistic buyers, incompetent builders, and slow bureaucrats. While unlocking the superpower of modernism the world has yet to fully appreciate. Modernist realtor Angela Roll is your special agent. Reach her at angelaroll.com. That's ROEHL, or call 919-995-0550.
Thank you, Tom. So, hey, Dustin, for the future, is fish farming still in the cards? I imagine at this point you could afford to jump right in the deep end, so to speak, and get started up like another famous fish farmer, Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. Did you know he was into this?
Did not know.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got quite the operation in Scotland.
Because Jethro Tull himself was some 14th century farmer who invented a method of planting seed using a screw. So farming runs... Anyway, I digress.
Look, I grew up on the back of a fishing trawler as a kid, so that seemed like a natural progression. At the time, didn't go that way.
But isn't farming something done in a fixed place?
That's correct, yeah, aquaculture. I studied aquaculture. So that was about, farming fish in high-density lakes and ponds. They're doing that at sea now in nets with salmon. So it's maintaining the health of the fish in high-density, farming situations.
Since you've got this great streaming service, it seems like there should be some fish involved somewhere, Dustin. Just saying.
I get it. Streaming fish. Yeah. Maybe you can even book a particular band that spells their name with a P.
So, Camille, you've got 200 hours or 12,000 minutes of content on this new service. And if I do the math, you have 6 shows of 15 minutes each. So that's 90. So what have you got on the other 11,910 minutes?
In detail, alphabetically organized.
Yeah. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, we've sort of tried to get a range of films and content from all around the world. We've got Charlie Luxton's Homes by the Sea.
I don't know if you know Charlie Luxton. He's like I'm sure you do, a UK architect, very prominent UK architect, and such a great show. Anything from, a favourite of mine is Do More with Less. It's a South American film, and it's about architects solving problems in really low socioeconomic areas. So we're looking at things like what happens when you have no money but you need to build a school for a community. Okay, what are the local resources? Bamboo, mud. Okay, that means we can make bricks from mud. We can create amazing infrastructure with bamboo. And so we see these incredible schools designed by architects with local resources like bamboo that have been created for children's or community spaces. So that's what I really like about architecture, is the problem solving. It doesn't really interest me that you can spend $3 million and you can build an incredible house. No, to be honest, personally, it doesn't really interest me. But if you can solve problems within budgets or within communities where it's most needed, that problem-solving aspect of architecture is most interesting to me.
And that's linked in with filmmaking as well, because you often don't have the budget that you want. So, what can you achieve with what you've got? And sometimes the things that come out of that are going to be, so much more creative than maybe what you might have come up with initially had you had the budget to do whatever you wanted.
And, we got titles like Strange and Familiar, architecture from Fogo Island, documentaries on wonderful architects like Kevin Roach, Oscar Niemeyer. We've got visual acoustics that looks at Julius Schulman, one of the most noted architectural photographers in the world. That's narrated by Dustin Hoffman. Harry Seidler, modernist.
Got quite a focus on small architecture, cabins and tiny homes, that kind of thing, a selection of short film content.
Yeah, feature films around small living. So, that's one of the areas that we curate a collection around small living. So feature films like Tiny and Small is Beautiful.
Are tiny homes a big deal in Australia?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think globally they've got a really big, passionate audience. And, there's problem solving again within that movement around, budgets, necessity, different stages in your life. And that's definitely a collection that we curate within the service, along with obviously design, Konstantin Gerik's designer's work, Tato Ando. We've got a vast collection of, I think, also hard to find documentaries or TV series. I really want to be exposing audiences who love this content to more of this great lifestyle and architecture and design content, as well as, we're working with fantastic established magazine brands like Dwell, Green Magazine locally here in Australia, showcasing their short form content, which is obviously really well produced. If you're sitting on a train, you might not want to get into an hour and a half documentary. You might just want to, or on your lunch break, watch something that's 3 or 5 minutes long and kind of, oh yeah, that's exciting, or that's a great idea, or that's something I want to explore further. So we're sort of covering all the different run times, that might appeal to people for different reasons.
Well, it's really amazing. And what is your connection to trees and reforestation with this new project?
We've partnered with Eden Reforestation Projects, who are a reforestation organisation. They're a not-for-profit, and they plant trees in some of the most low socioeconomic regions in the world. And so they're creating, obviously, reforestation, but also jobs in areas, like Africa, Indonesia. So every subscriber, every month, every paid subscriber, we plant a tree for. So we want to create and plant hundreds of thousands of trees. That's our goal. So every month we plant a tree. So when you're a subscriber to Shelter, you have a tree planted for you every month. And, we're looking forward to updating our subscribers on the amount of trees that we planted on their behalf. And it's a real way of giving back. Timber is obviously a resource that's used pretty extensively in the construction industry. And we thought that was a really good way to give back through Shelter.
That's fascinating. I think that would produce a lot of goodwill for your project.
For sure, and that's a part of it. I mean, that's the corporate responsibility part of it. And I think there's more and more corporate organisations that are aware of their responsibility around the environment. And we're very conscious of it. It's something that, we've always been very conscious of, from the way that we live in the home, things just simply like composting or, items that have got a long life as opposed to throwaway or short, whether it's a plastic straw or a metal straw or a kid's lunchbox, that's made of stainless steel as opposed to plastic. We've still got, Camille was saying last night, weren't you? We've still got our son's lunchbox from when he was 3. He's now 8. I mean, and it hasn't worn, So there's that thing in terms of life cycle of a product around sustainability. It's just awareness. It's like you just try and do what you can within your own constraints, be that financially, geographically. It's awareness, and it's not preaching to people. It's just, as a society, becoming more aware of the environmental resources that we use.
And does your son understand that you're doing more with less, and it's not just that you're cheap and his lunchbox from 3 years old is...
He does. He's in charge of the compost at the moment, actually.
Oh, really?
Which he hated at first, but
that's cool.
He's really into it now. He likes to see the worms and what they're up to and how the dirt seems to magically appear. So it's really good to get the kids involved in the process.
Where dirt comes from.
Camille, Dustin, thank you so much. This has been a really delightful chat with you, and I appreciate your being up at 9 in the morning your time in Australia to chat with us.
Did you hear within the interview that we said we had 3 kids? 9 o'clock's like middle of the day for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know of what you speak.
Thanks for listening. U.S. Modernist Radio is underwritten by Angela Roll, your special real estate agent for modernist houses, and by Nichiha.com/US Modernist. Okay, Tom, wrap us up.
Visit usmodernist.org's massive archives to listen to past shows, discover documentation of 7,500 significant modernist houses, and access 3 million pages of classic 20th century architecture magazines. U.S. Modernist Radio is produced by Soundtracks Recording Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our theme song was performed by George Smart, yes, George himself, and Robinson Earl. Carrie Cesarino researches guests while juggling 2 children, a chainsaw, and a flaming torch, all while dancing the Mambo No. 5 with her husband, Adam. U.S. Modernist Radio is a production of Modernist Archive, a nonprofit educational archive for the documentation, preservation, and promotion of modernist residential design. I'm Tom Guile. George and I will be back soon with another globe-trotting, jet-setting international edition of U.S. Modernist Radio.